This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. Here we're looking at this beautiful open area of top of the quarantine where the impalas also still doing their best of feeding and doesn't seem to be all that disturbed since they probably spend all night in this area. But we're about to find out about that. So if you jump aboard to your very own safari from the African bush. Good morning once again everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're sitting on the very much top of the quarantine looking at these impalas. They don't seem really worried or been threatened, but if there is anything we're probably going to find out, because this is where we're going to be working this morning. My name is Andrew and I have Morgan this morning. The beginning of it's always just to look around the prey species, because the cats will be out about at night all night hunting them. Well, it's not actually extremely colder as it were yesterday morning, so we're sitting on a temperatures of 16 degrees Celsius degrees this morning, and then 60 Fahrenheit. And we also like to hear from you. If you can send us the questions through #WildEarth on Twitter, as well as at FC on YouTube. But also, if you are under the age of 18 years old, you still pop us an email on kids questions at WildEarth.tv, or simply also go to the WildEarth website, head over to the live safari page, and you can submit your question there, and we'll be happily answering them for you. Impala just taking it easy. Just all the mixed feed happening here. They can browse, they can graze. So myself, I'll be focusing on going to operate in the eastern sector. Again, hoping to find a leopard. Trishal also should be searching on the other side. And then Nick and Ngala would be also doing the same, as well as Prideland, who may lead us in a walk, and Juan and Tswalu, which later they probably may join us as well. And then it's cool that working as a team, as impalas, all rely on one another in case there is an emergency. It's wide and open here, but it's still worth it for them to be all aware of the danger. So, Lisa, you're asking that could a springbok mate with the impala? I'm not sure, since we don't have a springbok out here, unless if you force them in captivity. But I never heard of that. That probably will happen, or can happen, if they're in captivity where there's only two partners at a time. But I never actually heard of a crossbreed in these two species. You know, I thought last night, had an audio of that is probably the same lionesses that she was calling about in the middle of the night, but couldn't tell which direction. And then just assume that can be the same female that she was wandering around here looking for the pride. And maybe she didn't come this far east because she disappeared to the west by yesterday morning. But maybe she didn't come in this area because then everything's so dead quiet. Where this specific antelope we're looking at, Graham, so you're asking those at the background, are they baobab tree? No, they are marula tree. We don't have a lot of a baobab tree around here. So all of these that you see on the background, it looks like really that of baobab tree, but it's not. But the base does look like, when you look at that trunk, but also these all are branches that spread around. But they are amarula trees. So a winter time for the impalas, all the rioting season. So this is when the male will become strictly territorial, congregate their family, all group of harem together. And then at the one time dominated by single male at a time, you find 30 over 60, about possibly 100 females at a time, controlled by one male in that given time. Which a lot of the females, fully grown females, some of them already this is going to give birth. So everybody, I'm going to continue, but let's quickly take a look at the weather on all our various different locations.
do my intro after it rises. Good morning, everybody. We're watching the wonderful sunrise from the west here on Zoe's Road. But, I mean, you know who I am, but I'll tell you who I am in a moment, just as soon as we see it pop through over the horizon. Has some beautiful sounds. Well, our plan for today is to head kind of a westerly direction. Just check out the roads on the side, you know, Bellanaites, Impala Road, all of that goodness. See what we can find. You've already met Andrew. Andrew's going down to the east, probably towards Chitwa. I'm sorry about that, guys. Did everything get quite pixelated? I promise it's quite clear and crisp in reality, and I'm sure that you can see that now. Well, up it comes to brighten us all and warm us up, and you know how much I need that. It's me, Tswalu, everyone. I've got thereon camera, and yeah, like I said, we're going to go out west. We had some interesting sounds. I wonder if you heard them too. We're going to move off in, like I said, the westerly direction, and see what we can find. Now, there was sound of lions this morning. I'm hoping for the sounds of whooping as well. Maybe we go down and check if there's any hyena activity there near Gari Main. But I'd really like to see a leopard this morning. I saw some female leopard tracks here on this road leading us down, but they didn't look they're terribly fresh. Maybe from yesterday morning. It's just a car has driven over a portion of them. But what's interesting is that it's on the side, and on the side of Djuma. We could have Kara, we could have Shadudu, because Kalamba was seen all the way further east. So we'll investigate. Luckily, I pretty much know what Kara's tracks look like. It didn't look like Kara's, but anyway, we will investigate. There it is, popping right over now. You can hear the testiculars shouting as usual. But let's take a couple minutes just to listen here again. There was an impala that sounded, or looked rather, a little bit concerned. And we want to go off and investigate that in a bit. But let's just keep our ears open, especially you guys, since you can hear very well. I'll keep my eyes open as I swing my head across on the road to see if there's any movement. some elephants this morning would also be beautiful, and I'm hoping I'll find all of that on this side. So we're going to get going. I'm going to decide whether I feel like going to Treehouse Dam first to check on some elephants. But I guess we'll just follow the tracks and see where it takes us, both for elephants, leopards, or even some lions.
Good morning and welcome to andBeyond Ngala Private Game Reserve in the Kruger National Park. We've got quite a stunning sunrise on its way between those two large marula trees in the central parts of Ngala. I think as that sun rises, it's going to get rather crisp this morning. Really stunning colors as well. There's that clear sky. It's turned into quite a wonderful day today. My name is Nick, and behind camera we've got Odie once again this morning, and we're really excited to be out on this beautiful day. Our plan this morning, there's quite a few guest vehicles out and about looking for lions and leopards. So I think what we'll do is try and keep out of their hair. What we are going to do from here, just before some of them get into the area, is just quickly pop into the riverbed where we have been seeing that female leopard and her two cubs, and see if we can't potentially pick up on some tracks, or maybe if we're very, very lucky, come across her like we did yesterday morning. Who knows? We've had lots of luck recently. But we decided to start off this morning. Haven't seen too much as of yet, and Odie spotted this beautiful sunrise coming through the marula trees and thought it would be quite a nice scene to start off the morning. Lots and lots of birds calling, so I'm just going to take a few minutes or a couple seconds to keep quiet and listen to some of the sounds around us. Birds seem to be getting more and more active as the sun's starting to rise. There were some ringneck doves, Cape starlings, crested francolins, and brown-headed parrots, all making a bit of a noise this morning and letting everyone know of their presence. Sun rising quite quickly this morning, and it's such a stunning picture between the trees. I couldn't agree more, Nancy. My words being a little sarcastic, another terrible day in Africa. No, you really couldn't ask for a better start this morning. I love these winter mornings when it's crystal clear with no cloud cover, just because of the colors in the morning. The blue skies are really, really pretty. We've had lots of these scenic shots over the last, or yesterday afternoon and today. So let's hope we see a little bit more wildlife and maybe some birds around. I'm quite keen to do a bit of birding this morning. Some of you might be scratching your heads and asking why, but I know there are other people that will enjoy seeing some of the birds around Ngala. And what we'll do, especially for some of the smaller ones. We'll see if we can't find one of the seasonal pans that still has a bit of water in. And just sit quietly in the hope that some of the smaller birds like waxbills and firefinches come down to have a drink. But we'll do that only a little bit later. I think what we'll do from here again, just drop into the riverbed around the corner and just check for tracks of that leopard. If nothing, then we'll move out the area and start heading a little bit west. But I think we'll spend majority of this morning's drive around the Timbavati River and see what's out and about. Atul, the Birmingham male, he's looking quite good, to be honest. We did find him, what was it, only two afternoons ago, and he was with the two white ones and the two other young males and the other young lioness. He's looking fine, to be honest. I think there was a bit of chaos, not last night, the night before, on our boundary. The lions, there were just tracks going all over the show. So I wonder if the two dominant males didn't head up there and chase them a bit. One of the rangers said there were tracks of two male lions going up into that area. We don't tend to head up too much into that area with the WildEarth vehicle because it is in quite a low signal area, so that doesn't help us. But there are a couple of guys looking for them this morning, and I'm sure if the sub-adults are found, I wouldn't be surprised if that young Birmingham male is there. Looks like those wounds on his back legs have healed up quite nicely. You can still see the scarring, but he looks like he's healed up quite nicely, and he's looking quite comfortable. And every day that goes by, he seems to be less and less fearful of the dominant males. So it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with that young Birmingham male, whether he tries to leave the pride with the other three young males, the white one included, or whether he tries to stay within the pride. We've seen him trying to mate with his mom a couple times and with some of his older sisters as well, but they don't tend to let him too close to them, which is a good thing. Other than that, the rest of the Birmingham Pride, the Ross males we haven't seen for a few days, and there were some lions roaring quite far west that Odie heard, but he thinks it might have been the Pride calling. And then the lionesses with the small cubs have gone into an area of Ngala that has been burnt. So we can't off-road there, so there's no real point tracking them and trying to find them yesterday. But again, a couple of the rangers have headed into that area to see if they can't pick up on any tracks and signs of those animals leaving the burnt patch and coming out into an area where we could potentially track, find and view them. I think now that sun's just peeking through that little gap, which is what we were waiting for and what we were after, it's getting quite bright, so it's quite difficult for me to keep staring at it. So I think what we'll do is keep driving and head towards the area in the riverbed where that female has been with her two youngsters, and see if maybe we can't find some clues as to where those three animals are. It's still quite chilly though, so I'm not going to take a fast drive to get there. I'll take it nice and slow. There we go. We're speaking about birds. This sjambok pod is absolutely full of them. So firstly, have a look at the tree and those long, thin pods that are hanging down from them. So it's a sjambok pod or a long-tailed cassia, and the two birds that we have in picture just in the sunlight now, quite common birds around South Africa called grey go-away birds. And I think we've been seeing a lot of activity in these sjambok pods recently, and I think it is them trying to feed on the seeds. There are a few birds hopping around at the back there. Another go-away bird in picture. My mic came out, so I'm just going to be fiddling with that. be better. Let's see if we can't find another species in there. There are quite a few different species hopping around there. Obviously, they're quite difficult to spot. Oof, there's a very pretty bird around the back, and Odie has managed to get it. Have a look at the colors on that bird when it does get into a bit of a gap. Look at the brown around the body, and then the stunning red on the face. Looks like a pair of black-collared barbets that are busy trying to also potentially feed on the seeds in these sjambok pods. So nice to get a few birds when we weren't really looking for them, but we're going to keep driving and see what we can find this morning.
I'm Maggie, also known as Mia My Cat on Twitter. I purchased the Ticket to Dream so that I would make it back to Africa someday, so here I am. I enjoy WildEarth very much. Just the experience it brings to everybody, it just helps everybody cope with things.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
My favorite part about today is seeing Mariggs, seeing him stalk the waterbuck and seeing the interaction between the waterbuck and him, and he's just an impressive little guy.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
It's very exciting to be on a live drive at Djuma, to see how things work in the back and to be certainly much closer to the animals.
As one of the industry's best and FAGASA-endorsed training institutes, NJ Moorfield Guide College produces professional guides of exceptional caliber and gives students from around the world an incredible experience. NJ Moore offers courses to suit all types of interests. The full-length career course results in a FAGASA-accredited qualification and the option of a 6-month internship at one of Moore Family Collection's luxury safari lodges. Shorter courses are a great introduction for those considering a career in field guiding or even a life-enriching experience in your gap year. With spaces still available in July, don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity to live your African dream.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on WildEarth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
So we are driving along a road that runs parallel to the Tswalu River. It's a road known as Big Bend. And you can guess why it's called Big Bend. There's a really big bend in the river. And this is the area and the territory of this female leopard that we are looking for this morning. So in this area, I mean, you could look in front of us, you can't really see, but the road is quite rocky here, so we're not going to pick up on too many tracks where we are now. So we don't really need to be keeping a lookout for that, but there will be patches of softer sand where we'll keep having a little look on the road, see what's walked here last night. There's heaps of hyena tracks all over the road, so that looks like they were quite busy last night. And while driving, we're also going to keep a good listen out for any signs that may alert us to this female leopard, whether it's birds alarming, things like francolins and spurfowls, maybe even a rattling testicular. We had that the other morning where the rattling testicular alerted us to the presence of a slender mongoose. Not really what we're after this morning, but I wouldn't be disappointed if we saw one nonetheless. There's some more hyena tracks here, and looks like a genet track as well in the road. And you can see it's quite thick in the area that we're going through now. So it's a good area for leopards to be moving around. Nice cover. There's also usually quite a lot of antelope here, but I think we are going to send you over to Pridelands, if I'm not mistaken.
So we've got a hyena that's come to say hi. This hyena is probably the one that eats all of my things when I accidentally light, but it's going now. Unfortunately, it just walked right over the wall. Stopping now. He's just watching us. Hi everyone, my name's Martin behind the and this is the Trading Pridelands. Bye-bye, hyena. So we were just watching this beautiful sun rising over the Ndlovu Dam wall, and this hyena just came over, well actually Craig pointed it out, walked all the way along the wall, down towards us. It full well knows that we're here. It's interesting to me because remember yesterday had that funny noise that we think might have been a leopard chasing a hyena. Perhaps it was that very same hyena. But in any case, last night we had lots of cool action here. We had buffalo herd that came down here to have a drink. I think they've gone up that crest. We've got these hyenas which are maybe moving around the area, maybe following that buffalo herd if there are some youngsters there. There's leopard that have been calling. Lions often come here, so a lot of cool, interesting things that we might find this morning. I'd be quite interested to wonder or to find out where that hyena is going or where it's come from. But in any case, it's a spectacular morning. Look at that sun rising behind us. A little bit of mist in the air. Very still, hardly a ripple. I do see some ripples. The hippo is probably still in the dam. What mystery. Very quiet otherwise. That hyena probably coming from the low area behind the dam wall. It's a place where there's lots of termite mounds, perhaps even investigating new den sites. We know there are at least 3 active dens here on Pridelands at the moment. And the hyena clan is very big. And there's at least 3 tiny youngsters in one den, and then other youngsters in other dens. So they might be looking to branch out a little bit more. Maybe those dens are getting a bit crowded. Let's take a little walk slowly out here and see if that hippo is still there. Anna, it is quite common for hyenas to roam around alone. Remember, at a den site, there might be a number of hyenas together, and at a carcass, there might be many, but when they're foraging, they're usually alone, especially males will usually wander alone. If they find something interesting, they'll start whooping and calling, and other hyenas will then come in. But it's quite normal for them to be traveling alone. Right now, it's probably heading back to a den, or maybe heading to a place where it knows there's a bit of shelter. What? It's very bright. I don't see the hippo. It might still be out. You know, cool mornings like this, although it's quite bright, it's still very cool. That hippo could well be somewhere still feeding on grass on the opposite side of the dam wall, the low areas, the drainage lines. I can't see it. I'm going to just pop behind you here, Craig. Oh no, it's still there. There's our hippo. So it was the hippo making all those ripples. Doves flying past. A lot of birds making noise. Those were some crested francolin. Probably just giving a dawn chorus, letting everyone know that, hey, we survived the night, this is still our spot. And now most of the birds will be up in the tops of the trees, warming up. The hippos become quite relaxed with us. We walk around this dam, sit on the dam wall, and all the while this hippo barely glances at us. actually fantastic. I see all the buffaloes track and sign over there. Let's go and have a look and see if we can find out which direction these buffaloes went from. There's a track right over here. You can't see it very clearly, but there's a nice big buffalo track right there. So the buffaloes came down last night around about 3 o'clock in the morning. There was about 50 of them, and it's almost full moon. I think full moon was the day before yesterday. So it was actually beautiful to watch them all streaming past our tents, coming down to this waterhole to have a drink. I wonder, there's some fresh dung pats here. Let's have a look. Oh, it's quite cold. 2 hours is enough time, or 3 hours enough time for these to lose all their residual heat. But we're going to send you over to Ngala and Nick to say good morning and show you some animals. And we're going to head up there and try and see if we can find those buffaloes.
Managed to find ourselves a large or medium-sized herd of impala, actually, but the sun coming through on their faces and on their bodies is too pretty to just drive past, so we thought we'd stop and have a look. And can you see how it's mainly females, pretty much only females in picture at the moment, and you can see how that one female on the left sort of, as soon as I said that, she popped her head out and had a good look towards us. But they seem to be quite relaxed this morning. I don't think they've had too many difficulties in the evening. And you can actually see that one is busy grooming itself as well, which is quite cool. And they tend to groom really often. They've got teeth that almost act as if a comb. You can see how she's pulling it through her coat, trying to clean herself. Be interesting to see if she grooms one of the other impalas as well. All of them starting to groom now. That's quite sweet. See how they're a little bit darker than normal as well, their coats, especially near the top. I think that's because of the cold weather this morning. They've just managed to rough their coat out a little bit to hold the warmth between their body and their coat. It's called pilot erection. There you can see the ram coming through at the back, making sure that he's not letting any of these females get away from him. As soon as they move, he's after them again, and it's still essentially the rutting season for them. We are starting to hear them less and less in terms of the males being vocal, but they still seem to be holding their herds, chasing other males off. And they are such beautiful and often underrated animals. My favorite part about them is the little white part on their, just under their nose. It almost looks like they've got moustaches. And yeah, most of them are now just standing quite still. A few of the ones in the front have started to move away from us, and I'm pretty sure that that's going to mean that all of these impalas are going to follow. They do have a bit of a herd mentality in that sense, that they will move. But you can see how they're all staring off in the direction. There's a bird calling. They're just taking note of that bird and the area that it's calling from. You can also hear to our left that a couple of rattling testiculars. So that might be a bird that we would keep a listen out on our search for the female leopard this morning. If these impalas had seen her, they definitely would have alarm called, and they would have alerted us to her presence as well. You can see how a couple of them are quite focused in that direction. There's a spur fowl that's just flown off and an alarm now as well. Could just be the birds waking up and getting a bit of a fright this morning, but there's always a chance that there could be something lurking. So Safari Kitty, I think that question, I mean, most of the time the impalas are quite relaxed with the vehicles, and in turn their lambs are also relaxed with the vehicles. I think probably about a week, maybe 2 weeks. They tend to watch the mothers and other impala in the herd's behavior. So if the mom's quite relaxed with the vehicle, then the youngsters tend to be relaxed relatively quickly. So when the calves do come about, or the impala lambs, I'd say within a few days, to be honest. When you find them where the mothers have moved away from the herd to give birth to them, sometimes the mom is a little bit more unrelaxed, as you can imagine, when she's got a really vulnerable small lamb and she's all on her own, so she doesn't have the benefit of having other impalas around to keep an eye out and an ear out for her. So when they have just given birth and they're away from the herd, they sometimes can be a little bit unrelaxed. But I think it depends on the situation as well. This morning when it was very still, there's not even a breath of wind blowing, that's when I think impalas would tend to be quite relaxed, because they sort of know what's going on around them. Imagine a brand new impala lamb was born and there was a strong wind blowing and the animals couldn't pick up on scents from any directions and there was noises coming from everywhere. Then you would expect them to be quite unrelaxed. Just these couple at the back just keeping a good lookout. They haven't moved in the direction because those other ones that were moving off decided to turn around and come back. And they're in quite a thick area. They're in a thicket of magic quarries. It's so nice to spend a bit of time with some impalas, watching them groom, and just to have this beautiful light on them this morning is quite a treat. See, the one in the front left has now got its head down, busy grazing, feeding on some of the grasses that are still quite nice and nutritious. I always relate impalas to goats because they will eat anything that they can. They're quite adaptable in that sense. The only thing that they really require in order to survive, probably a little bit of food, but water. They're quite water dependent, so they need to drink almost daily. You tend to only find them within about 5 kilometers of a permanent water source. Somewhere like this, along the Timbavati River, with all the elephants digging in the holes, then it would probably be a natural occurrence to have impalas along the river. But some of the artificial water holes that have been built, not only on Ngala, but on the reserves all around here, any water hole that has been built, then that artificially would bring the impalas into the area as well, because if it wasn't for that water, they wouldn't be able to survive around there. Nice to spend a bit of time with this impala herd, but I think we're going to slowly keep making our way towards the area where we're going to drop down into the riverbed.
Here's yet another marula who has been stripped. I can't see the other side to see if it's totally ring-barked. See, is that there are little shiny bits, especially with the sunlight at the moment. I'm not sure if you're able to see it, but they're little shiny bits that are reflecting off the inner bark there. Just a little further down. Just like that. It's very difficult to see, but what it's actually telling to us, or saying to us, is that this tree is attempting to heal. And it will exude latex in order to do that. So trees can produce 2 types of latex, or 2 broad categories of latex, essentially. One is the white latex, the latex that you may see in plants at home, in tambur teas, for example, and that's toxic. That's a defensive latex. But this kind of clear latex is to help the tree mend wounds. So just like us, they have injury, just like this, and they need something to help it close up. Imagine like our clotting factor in our blood. They need something to help it close up. And once it closes up any deeper wounds, any wounds that are penetrating past that outer bark, and into the more central portions of the tree and the actual wood part. So kind of like the actual wood that we use, what we consider wood, we don't consider outer bark the wood, but that wood is called xylem wood. So that's a little bit further in. Once any injuries penetrate past this outer bark into the inner bark and that xylem wood, it really needs the latex to help it heal up. And then soon it'll start to produce a whole lot of new cells from the edges and then grow again inward to close up this whole wound.
So as you can see, we're still on the tracks of this buffalo herd. In fact, I was just discussing now with Jan Hendrik, what are some of the things we should be wary of? And this is exactly what we should be wary of, or at least aware of. There's only tracks of one buffalo here, and it's a very, very big track. The rest of the buffalo herd's tracks are just here amongst the grassy area. So we decided just to follow this one, because I'm sure this buffalo is with the herd, maybe on the fringes. But this one is most likely a buffalo bull, one of those ones that's often called a dugger boy. And these generally referred to the older, bigger bulls that are sometimes on the fringes or lagging behind, a bit older, a bit stronger, a bit bigger, maybe not so agile and quick. And that's the one we should be wary of in terms of it might be lying down somewhere resting, and if we don't see it, we could end up getting very close to it before it reacts. And buffaloes react very quickly. They'll either run away or they'll quickly come to investigate. Let's just call it investigating at high speed. And we'd like to avoid either of those outcomes. But yeah, so this one, as you can see, that's the back of the track here. The little toe with a little flick just over here, heading straight down this road. Remember, the older buffalo bulls, not so easy for them to maneuver around, especially when there's lots of rocks, lots of fallen logs and lots of grass. So we'll keep following and see if we can find them. I suspect they're not very far. I mean, they are quite water dependent, and they were drinking a few hours ago. So after drinking with a full moon like that, they would have continued to feed as they were moving. I mean, just the frequency of the dung that we're seeing. There's a pile here, and there's a pile literally a couple of meters away, and I see another pile just about 10 meters further. So it means they're not moving fast, just slowly feeding along the edges of this road, looking for this kind of stuff. If you look here, you can just see there's a little bit of green still left at the bases of some of these grasses. So that's what these buffaloes are targeting. They'll move their heads in amongst these bushes and shrubs, getting to this green grass here, which is still fairly nutritious. It's still got some goodness. The dry straw stuff like this is not really ideal for them. They'll eat it as a last resort, but it's not really what they're after. They're looking for the green stuff. And there's a fair amount of it. We were just talking about how much grass there's still left at this time of year now. It should be long gone. I mean, this here, just in there you can see again, lots of green leaves. I mean, it's almost July. I think I got that right. I think it's almost July, which means we're deep in midwinter. And by now this stuff should all be dry and dead, and animals should start to lose condition. But this year, I think they're going to be doing just fine. Let's walk a little bit further down the road. Oliver, are you asking if buffaloes use dung as a territorial marking, or if there are any animals that use it? I wasn't sure that I quite got that question, Oliver. But if you're asking if it's buffaloes, then buffaloes don't have territory. Buffaloes are not territorial. They move around. They have a home range, an area that they'll use. However, animals like hyenas and leopards will definitely use dung and scat to mark their territories, often placing their dung on very prominent places like junctions of roads or game paths, sometimes even on rocks and things. So it's quite like an important way. They'll scent mark as well by spraying urine, by scratching. I mean, most predators are territorial. In fact, I'm pretty sure all predators are territorial. Seeing something up there. See something dark. Let me just gander with my binoculars. No, Oliver, we're still safe. There's no buffalo that I can see there. But you can see another pile of dung just over there, Oliver. So buffaloes will just defecate wherever they go. Every few meters, a buffalo will drop a little dung pat, depending on how quickly they're moving. Well, while we continue looking for these buffaloes, we're going to send you over to Nick, who's bumbling through the Timbavati. Hopefully he's also having some luck.
So you can see we've now made it into the Timbavati riverbed, and we are in the area where we think we might be lucky enough to pick up on some tracks or signs of these three animals. Look, I think it might still be a little bit too cold this morning to see the leopards out in the open, but who knows, maybe if we're super lucky we'll, like yesterday, we'll get a glimpse and we'll just drive and they'll be there on that same dead tree. It'll be interesting to see if the leopardess has moved the cubs last night, because yesterday we had a lot of guys checking in the area. No one managed to find them or the youngsters, but there were no tracks of the youngsters moving out of that area where she left them yesterday when she ran off and spotted something on the other bank and tried to go and investigate. And believe it or not, one of our other rangers found a different leopard very close to that area on game drive yesterday evening, and we think that it was that female's previous cub from 2 and a bit years ago. It is really beautiful driving in the riverbed this morning. The sun is just high enough that it's starting to catch both sides of the bank. So maybe if we're super lucky we'll come across her, and we'll just check here briefly, have a look. If we don't pick up on any tracks and signs, I think we'll move out of the area and go into the central parts and look for some birds and any other things that are interesting along the way. There was a guide that drove here right early in this morning at about 6 o'clock, so a good hour and a half ago. So if anything's crossed over here, we know the time frame, which is also fantastic. That's how we managed to pick up on the female yesterday, because we saw her tracks coming from that area where she had that Ngala carcass in the tree, crossed over the river and then walked up the bank towards an area that she's been spending a lot of time in the last few weeks and even the last few months, actually. Having a good look on that tree we saw on yesterday. I don't think she's there today, unfortunately, but maybe she'll be in the riverbed, maybe she'll be lying somewhere around there. Lots of old tracks in the riverbed, but nothing too fresh this morning. When we get to the area where we had them yesterday, it might be a good idea, if we don't see tracks, just to turn off and have a listen. Sometimes we might be able to hear, if mom is in the den site, we might be able to hear those little cubs suckling or moving around, if they are still there, which is what we are hoping. This is pretty much the area where we spotted her from yesterday. So Alice, if a track is fresh or not in this riverbed, it's unbelievably difficult. But it's got a lot to do with the crispness of the track and the walls, and how, like, if there's wind or heat, then it'll blow sand into the track, as well as the fact that these cold winter mornings there's often a little layer of dew, and if the leopard's stepped over the dew, you can see if there's a little bit of moisture in the track or not. It's a little bit trickier in the riverbed, and especially at this time of year. Tracks tend to look fresh for a little bit of a longer period. But what's easy for us is that we know people have driven here. So if the leopard walks through the tracks, we know the time frame that she would have walked through. Doesn't look like she's around here this morning, and I haven't seen any tracks of her yet. We'll just stop here and have a bit of a listen and a look into the area where we think she's left those two small cubs. Checking nice and slowly. I'm actually just going to turn off here. We're going to have a quick listen. If we don't see anything, we won't want to stay off for too long because the cubs could be in there and mom's out. And again, like yesterday, we don't want to draw any unnecessary, unwanted attention towards them. But that dead tree on the right is the tree where we had them all yesterday morning. You can also see just behind that little drainage line, which is that darker patch in the picture, very dense bush behind there. So they could be lying up the top there, huddled up somewhere trying to keep warm. And then we would have no chance of seeing them. So it just shows how lucky we were yesterday to have them all out in the open again. So no movement in the area, no real sounds either. I think we'll give it another sort of minute or so and then we'll continue on our way. Chance we could have moved them north or south along this bank. Not therefore we won't pick up our tracks in the riverbed, so it might even be an idea to just check the road that leads out of the Timbabati River at this section. I think let's keep going. No real signs here. It just shows how lucky we were yesterday to just bump her in the riverbed like we did.
As the sun goes down in Africa, for many, the day has just begun. WildEarth is piloting a brand new concept, and this time it's at night. This Saturday, a specialized thermal drone will take to the air under the cover of darkness. As it flies above the bush, it will be searching for hotspots on the ground.
We might have a leopard on the far right of this group of hyena.
The ground team will then be called to identify the animal.
It is a warthog. That's exactly what it is. So there we go. It was a warthog that was running away from... Sorry, Warty.
And of course, it is at this time when the big cats are on the hunt.
Yeah, James just head a little bit more left.
Okay, copy. I'm going to go north around on Impala Road.
Okay, the lions are on the move, guys. Lions are chasing the wildebeest.
WildEarth is looking for a sponsor who can help turn this pilot into a long-running series. If you are interested, then head over to our website to find out more. wildearth.tv/sponsors. Across southern and East Africa, the Endangered Wildlife Trust works tirelessly to save species, protect critical habitats, and benefit people. Join the EWT in returning wildlife to the wild. Go to ewt.org.za to find out more and follow our socials to see how you can get involved. Protecting forever, together.
I love being a cam-up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Guys, just watch what's happening. See, watch the elephant, watch the lions. See, the first ones to run are the cubs. Can you see them? They are right here. I'm not sure how scared you were, but I was quite nervous. But absolutely incredible.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
So everybody, we have arrived here at the Tswalu Dam, and as it seems to be, it's just a beautiful sound that it's actually made by all Egyptian geese and some hippos. And all the various different bird sound. So we also heard it was a singular monkey as we came down here, was here. But in one of the other property where we cannot go look. So we just hope that if there's any cat, will probably show up while we're at the dam. Okay, so you're saying it's quite a beautiful scenery at the dam. Indeed it is. Look at all the beautiful view in the background, sky, the ground and the water. And all the various different bird calls and all the hippos sound. So it's just so perfect moment for all birds even mammal animals, to make their calls early in the morning because of they rely on sounds, all of the sounds to travel further away. But once the hot take places, so when the hot take places, then there's not much of this sound can travel any further. We're gonna stick around here. I'm gonna be sending you across to Ngala, where Nick is on a bumble.
So we're just having a really good look along the road here. There is lots and lots and lots of hyena tracks, and there was tracks of a female leopard just behind us, but I think it was from yesterday afternoon, heading in the direction that we're going, but they seem to have cut off. They weren't very, very fresh though. I'm speaking about that crispness, and then also in turn the fact that the hyenas had stood over it, and a couple of the other nocturnal animals. It looks like it was from yesterday afternoon. There's lots of tracks on this road though. More hyena tracks, looks like some jenna tracks as well, even a squirrel. But we are sort of now starting to make our way out of this area where this female and her two cubs, or where we think she is this morning, with no luck really. Now maybe someone else will come a little bit later and have a bit of luck, and we're going to start making our way again towards the central areas of Ngala, see what we can find. Sounds like it's been quite a slow morning on the property with everyone. I think one lion has been found somewhere, with a couple guys viewing it there up in the north. But while we scratch around for anything interesting here, we're going to send you to Trishala, who's got a bird.
We are here with a little Basilia chick. Well, not so little. I don't think it's ever been that little, has it? We've been spending some time with it. We've spent some time with Lauren and this chick, as well as myself. But it is nice to see the Basilia. I'm not fond of its chosen name, but in honor of Lauren, I will say it, Batilda. It was actually close to the ground, and it flew quite well to the top of this dead tree. But I need to move, everybody, because I can hear some vervet monkeys alarm calling behind us. Not very closely behind us, but I think cheetah cutline, and it is going to be best if we can move to get there ASAP. That was me asking FC, everyone, if you're wondering. I think in that area it could be Tandi around Cheetah Cutline. It could also be Maribs, or it could even be Tlalamba, because I heard that they found Tlalamba around that area. Although that seems very far from where I would expect to see her. But at least we get to spend some time with this Basilia chick. I'm not even sure we can call it a chick anymore. We call it a juvenile. Okay, I can really hear them shouting behind me now, so I'm gonna go and check it out. Luckily it's going to be on a smooth road that we're going to be traveling for at least most of this. Now, I was really hoping that we'd find some spots this morning. And I was actually in the west-ish, but we weren't getting good signal there, so I've kind of moved to the central bits of Djuma, and now we're going to go to one. So the first thing I want to do, if we don't see a leopard, is to find the vervet monkeys at the very least. So we're going to go to the junction with Cheetah Cutline, and we're going to go stationary and listen. I see vervet monkeys. They're looking out into Little Gallery. I just get top of the tree there.
Sorry everybody, we're back with us. Just so sorry with all the inconvenience there, Djuma. And we're still sitting here at the Chitta Dam. As you can see, one of the hippo where there's a bird on top. There's all the oxpeckers. Deal with all the ticks. And all the parasite that may animal have. This hippo may have returned back to the water early this morning from grazing all night. So we're going to stay just to see what's going to be happening.
So we are now out of the area of these three animals, and we're starting to make our way. I think we'll head off to a waterhole, maybe to Clara Dam, and go have a look around and see what's there. No one's been there this morning, so who knows what could be around. Could be anything, could be something exciting, and maybe a good chance now that it's warmed up for some birds around the dam. It's always a good shot to just check the waterholes and see if there's nothing there. I'm sure we're going to get a chance to see some hippos, probably the 2 resident hippos in that waterhole. Because the hyenas have been active last night. Every road is just littered in hyena tracks. Still quite chilly along the riverbank as well. You'd expect now by, say, 7:45 it would have warmed up, but it's still rather chilly this morning. But I'm sure in the next sort of 15 minutes to half an hour we're going to be, excuse me, or at least dressing down a few layers, taking our big jackets off. Maybe the gloves will come off soon. Let's just hop into the riverbed here and just check this last little section of riverbank. I'm a big fan of driving in the riverbed. It's a really beautiful section to drive. Hopefully by the time you are next with us, we will be at the waterhole with some interesting things to look at. Interesting to see where all the lions have gone. Hopefully some of the other guides are able to find something for us this morning.
So we're still sitting very still, and now we're listening to all the beautiful sound that made by hippos. And it's actually getting warmer quickly this morning. There's a chance that many of the antelopes that they're around may come to drink in this very time. Where in summer, most animals, they prefer to drink time like this, and they can travel far away than need water. And next time, probably afternoon again. But we're still in a winter where they're probably just going to wait until it's warm enough for them to arrive at this dam to drink. So you're commenting saying that there's still a plenty of water in this dam. It is a lot of water. It's actually a decent dam, this Chita Dam. And then of course this water will make it throughout the winter this year, until the next rain. So some years in the past, we had a drought where there's so many people that have to suffer. Some have to make their way, some have to be captured to the far north, Waterberg. But we've always seen that since the rain has taken place again, the waters come plenty, and the number of hippos recovered. We've seen so many hippo already. And those were Egyptian geese, where female make a lot of noise than the male. So these hippo, they might actually need to bask in sun. And some croc that may be around here, which I know they're around in this watering hole. Also, they may need their own distances to bask, but away from the hippo. Charlie, so you're asking what do the hippo do when it's drought? So a few years ago, we've seen that drought, and we've seen a lot of hippo. Some trying to make their way across back to the east into Kruger Park, hoping to find waters in these rivers, but unfortunately, it wasn't. And then, of course, if there is no plane for them to find another second water stations, it results in death. But if there is a nearby watering hole where they can reach, and they would just make that destination to get to that water station. And that journey sometimes can take several days if it's far enough. Cannot make it in one evening. In a day, they will probably just rest in a river where it's shadow covered. But last time a drought has taken place in this reserve, we've seen a conservationist done a brilliant job of capturing this animal back to the north in the Waterberg, where they still haven't returned back. We won't have them back. But the number here, it's already recovered. Just gonna take a moment of a silence. There's actually some sound. I'm so sorry about that knocking. It's probably some maintenance guys doing some work here on the other side. But there's a southern ground hornbill making a sound, but it's a very soft sound if you can listen to that. So we're gonna stay here, see what is gonna be happening.
As one of the industry's best and Fagasa endorsed training institutes, NJ Moorfield Guide College produces professional guides of exceptional caliber and gives students from around the world an incredible experience. NJ Moore offers courses to suit all types of interests. The full-length career course results in a Fagasa accredited qualification and the option of a 6-month internship at one of Moore Family Collection's luxury safari lodges. Shorter courses are a great introduction for those considering a career in field guiding or even a life-enriching experience in your gap year. With spaces still available in July, don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity to live your African dream.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Are you still hearing these hornbills, which mainly they would communicate, either perch in trees, as sometimes on the ground. But because of the morning, the sound travelled far away. And also one of the bird, they forage in number, congregate in number, anything from 4 to 7, for possibly 10 of them. Yolanda, so you're commenting that you just love the sound of nature. Indeed, you're very right. It's such a peaceful morning to listen to all the sounds. One of a nest, probably there's a bird sitting in there. Looks like a heron. So this hippo we're looking at right now, they can submerge under water for 4 to 5 minutes sometimes. And they come out, stick their nostrils, their heads up, and they take a breath again and again. So they would be doing this all the entire day until they decided to come out of the water for basking in the sun. And they do actually close their eyes when they go down, and they shut their ear hole, which the water mustn't go down to their eardrum. And there's a special way of them do that. The easiest has systems. So we're gonna search around, see what we can find else. Sending you across to Ngala, where also Nikki's on a bumble about.
So we've tried to make our way out of the river repeatedly, I promise, but we kept picking up on tracks, different tracks, just trying to have a look to see if they are fresh or not. Yeah, we've got tracks of the female with what looks like one of the youngsters going in this direction. But again, they've been driven through, so I'm sure Nikki would have had a good look at them earlier, and sort of he decided that they were obviously not fresh enough to have a look at. So I think we'll do the same, keep going, and who knows. There was also what looked like a drag mark from also a female leopard. Whether it's the same female with the 2 cubs or not, I'm not sure. But there are 3 rangers with guests that are coming in the area, so we unfortunately need to make our way out of it so that they can have a good look around and get the trackers on the ground and actually spend a bit of time looking for her. I've mentioned a couple times that tracking leopards on Ngala, it's near impossible to do it from the vehicle. You have to get off on foot and walk for extended periods of time if you want any hope of finding them, unless you just come across them, which is not very common on Ngala. So we're going to turn out of the Timbavati River shortly and start making our way to that waterhole. But it is super, super cool to see so many different tracks of leopards all up and down the river, going north, going south, going east, going west. It's quite a treat. Usually our riverbeds are littered with lion tracks, so to see some leopard activity and lots of it is rather pleasant. Shreya, so changing den sites for a leopard and her cubs, it will happen relatively often. She will have areas that she prefers, and she might head back, Odie, just mind these branches, where she might head back to use and reuse specific den sites. The area where we were this morning, she's been using that area quite often, and I think it will depend on whether or not she catches food, because often if she catches food, she's going to take, now that those youngsters are eating meat, she'll take the youngsters to the carcasses to feed and then return back to the riverbed. But she seems to be favoring one specific den site. I think if there's suddenly a much bigger presence of hyenas in the area, or if lions come through that area where the leopards and the cubs are, then I think she'll move it. I don't think she'll stick around for too long. She might even then, if she gets really not so relaxed with what's moving around her den site, she might even move it a larger distance away. But since we've seen her and since we've seen where she's been leaving the youngsters, it's been a pretty concentrated area along that section where we were just driving now. And yeah, I think it varies on lots of different circumstances. Just going to quickly disengage four-wheel drive so that we're not driving very slowly, and we're turning onto a road in front of us now called Angazi Road. And this road leads pretty much straight up to that watering hole that I've been mentioning. We do cross one small drainage line in front of us on the way up there, and it'll be interesting to see what we find in this part of the reserve. Looks like someone has actually driven along this road this morning already, but I'm sure it was just en route to the north. Some of the rangers are looking for the subadults of the Pride, with the two white ones way up in the northern parts of Ngala, and then one of the other rangers found them way in the south. So lions managed to become wizards and sneak through the property without us picking up on their tracks, and yeah, they have been found. So maybe later today, when there's a gap, we'll try to see if we can't sneak in there. Probably this afternoon, I think. Potentially not this morning. I think it's going to be a little bit busy down in that part of the reserve, which is good news. Good news that the two white lions are on the property again, and pretty much in an area where they'll probably be around for a few days, which is exciting for all of us here. As soon as they disappear, it becomes very tricky, because you can imagine, as most of you viewers tend to enjoy seeing the white lions on WildEarth, when guests come to Ngala, it's a very big focal point. Ask guests what are they hoping to see, and white lions almost always a guarantee, which is understandable. I think if I went to a property and they had 2 or 3 wild white lions that we know of in the whole world, I think I'd probably also want to or hope to see those while I was staying here. It's like if I were to go to Tswalu, I wouldn't ask for the simpler things. I'd probably ask for pangolin, aardvark, and something like a brown hyena, which makes guides' job lots and lots of fun, searching for these really difficult animals to find. They're starting to warm up really nicely now, so I think jackets are coming off shortly, hopefully once we're at the watering hole, and who knows what's going to be around there this morning. See, the bush changes as soon as we start to move away from the river as well. It becomes a little bit less dense, not like the riparian forest that we found along the riverbanks of the Timbavati. And we're sort of now heading into more bush willow, marula, a few green thorns or balanites around as well. And there is a birds of 2 little Natal spurfowls that, as soon as we decided to turn off, are heading highly mobile away from us, and they've just ducked off into the grass. It's back on the road. But I think we'll continue on our way to the waterhole, and we'll give you an update when we get to that area.
I promise I was in a big herd of buffalo, and they're very nervous, and they're all kind of just running in a northerly direction. So that's why we've just parked here, because they've just been streaming through. But we can roll down a little bit now. Almost looks like they're all gone, out of our sight. But let's see, approach. Okay, I'm just going to move around this bend It's like I was saying, I don't know if it's, maybe it's just there's a slight breeze. But it is quite strange just now. And I'm not even sure if you're going to get to see even one because they all moved out of here so quickly. And they kicked up so much dust they moved. And there was crashing of trees and branches and it's all very, very. So what we're going to do is we're going to get to the dam. Or even just okay, we can just kind of see them through here. A few buffalo around here, Buffelshoek Dam. I wonder what they're getting up to here.
And we are approaching the waterhole, so we should be there in the next minute and a half. And we'll quite cool that you're going to be driving into the waterhole with us, so we'll be able to try and see what's around together, which is always exciting. I found it much more fun than when we just arrive and we sort of know where what's around and what we can look at. So it's quite exciting driving up to this waterhole, not knowing what's there. Beautiful reflection coming from the sun on the dam, and hopefully there's going to be something nice. I'm pretty certain we're going to see hippos, at least 2 of them, if they have decided to come back after their long evening of looking for food and feeding. And what we'll do is we'll just drive up onto the little bank on our right hand side, and then we'll stop and have a good scan around. From this angle, looking straight into the sun, it's very, very bright, the glare on the water, so it's not too great for our eyes. But I have spotted there is at least 1 hippo in the waterhole, and it looks like our resident friends, the Egyptian geese, are here as well. Odie says they're not our friends. And the hippos have just dropped, so I'm just going to try and park here so we can have a good look around the dam. There is something coming down to drink right on the northern side. It looks like it might just be 2 impalas. And it looks like they're actually moving away from the waterhole, not coming down to drink. Other than that, got the geese, couple spurfowl. You can see compared to yesterday, it was quite still on the water. And today there's quite a strong breeze, a sort of northwesterly breeze blowing over the water. And you can see some of the ripples that are being created. And this waterhole, although it's still got quite a lot of water in it, is starting to dry up. Have a look in the bottom right of the picture. You can see there's a little island on the northern section now, which is getting larger and larger by the day. And what is that on the far side? Is that just a log? It looks like just a log in the water. I'm sure there would have been a few things that would have come down and had a drink this morning. Odie's just zooming in on where the hippo has just risen and gone under, so let's just be patient. Maybe it'll pop its head out for us again. You might even be able to hear the wind in the mic. There's quite a strong breeze on this little bank that we're on to look over the watering hole. I think my number one favorite thing would have been to have seen some African wild dogs at this waterhole. We haven't seen the dogs on Ngala for a long time now, and hopefully in the next couple weeks they will be returning with a bunch of new puppies. You can see there's a couple birds that are drinking just on the left of that log. There's an elephant dung at the back. And if you have a look how they put their head down and bring it back up. It looks they are very far away, but they do look like they might be oxpeckers. Whether they're red or yellow-billed oxpeckers from this distance is very tricky to tell. Just to the right of that log as well, there are another two birds that are drinking, and one of them is most definitely a yellow-fronted canary. There, now we can see those are definitely oxpeckers the way they're flying. Probably coming down to quench their thirst, and now they're looking back to land on a few host animals. Have a heron, Odie? Heron? So I think Jackson was asking what species of herons we get at Ngala, if I'm not mistaken. Ones that we tend to see around the property. Look, we don't have flowing water, so we don't see really good herons around the property. But grey heron is quite a common one that we see at some of the watering holes, probably the most common heron in this part of the world. I haven't seen Goliath heron here before, but I do know that you get it in the area. Striated heron or green-backed heron, quite common where there's small fish and water. I remember watching Tristan actually at Djuma when one of the waterholes was overflowing in summer and watching that striated heron trying to catch some of the tilapias that were swimming up. Black-crowned night heron and white-backed night heron, I think we get in the area, but also with the lack of flowing water, we don't tend to see them at Ngala too much. And other than that, we did earlier, what was it? December last year, December 2020, we had the rufous-bellied heron around Ngala, which was a first on the property. It was the first record ever, which was super, super exciting. It was a lifer for me. And in picture now, we've got a Birchall starling. See Odie's quick camera work back to the hippo, but they just seem to be beating him this morning. I tend to prefer Jackson back on the topic of herons. I mean, the larger herons are really cool to watch fish, but the smaller herons are the ones that I tend to enjoy watching a little bit more. There we go, you got the hippo briefly. So it's a little bit wary of us this morning. Also very difficult what Odie's trying to get there is a bird that's flying around us. It's a bird that we've been seeing quite a lot recently, actually. One that I hadn't identified on Ngala until about a couple months ago, called a mosque swallow, which we see every now and then. It was a pair of them that were just busy drinking. But obviously a swallow is a very fast-flying bird and obviously unbelievably tricky to get on that camera. Hear one calling above us. So we have come to the waterhole. I think we'll spend a bit of time here and just see if nothing comes down to drink. But while we do that, we're going to send you over to Pridelands and Mike, who's going to give you an update on his bushwalk.
We've taken shelter a little bit further north of where these buffaloes are, under a knobthorn that has been stripped of its bark some point in the past by an elephant, hoping that these buffaloes might wander their way back this way. We did see them. We actually had a very close encounter with them. It was lovely. Unfortunately, our signal was not lovely. So we're hoping underneath this knobthorn on the almost highest part of this crest is where we're going to get slightly better signal. Those buffaloes are probably about 100 to 150 meters down there. And they did see us. They did know we were there. They were quite comfortable and calm with us. We were sat on a small termite mound where we've actually filmed some segments before. So we were really hoping that we could show you these buffaloes. It's a big herd. There must be more than 50, maybe 60 or 70 individuals, maybe even up to 100. We've seen many groups of buffaloes joining together on Pridelands as it gets drier and the food becomes less available, less water. So in any case, what we're going to try and do is we'll slowly move our way down there, meter by meter, checking to see if we can maybe get another glimpse of those buffaloes somewhere where we do have signal, so we can show you that wonderful herd, which looks like to be settling down in that area. They're not moving very fast. They were mostly just feeding, heads down, chomping away, but not moving very fast at all. In fact, what am I seeing over there? Oh, there's a vehicle. Oh, goodness me, I thought there was a buffalo heading straight for us. Okay, so there's a vehicle that's probably just been passing by where those buffaloes were. So we'll make our way towards them now. We never want to tangle when there's vehicles and big game, because the vehicles can disturb them, and then we're trying to be quiet and hide away from them, and then they get pushed towards us. It's never the most ideal situation. So it's also good to give space. But hopefully, with a bit of luck, keep your fingers crossed for us, everyone, and we'll try and see if we can get another glimpse of those buffaloes. It'd be great if they settle down and maybe even start to head down towards Ndlovu Dam, where we might be able to get another glimpse of them coming down to drink as the day gets hotter. But we'll keep you updated, as always.
The annual Safari Guide of the Year competition aims to create awareness for those men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. This year's event will be held at Marataba, a breathtaking privately managed section of the Marakele National Park in South Africa's Limpopo province. In celebration of this, WildEarth and Marataba Luxury Lodges are offering all explorers a chance to win a 3-night stay at Marataba Safari Lodge for you and a friend. In addition to a spectacular land-based safari, Marataba Luxury Lodges offer an opportunity for guests to cruise peacefully along the Matlabas River, watching the animals as they drink and wallow. The lodge offers you a chance to lie by the pool or enjoy a spa treatment, and one night could be spent sleeping out under the stars in a luxurious treehouse. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the 30th of June, and it could be you heading off on a long-awaited getaway.
WildEarth Explorers. It's in your nature. The Wildlife and Environment Society of South Africa, WESA, encourages people to care for the earth. Through innovative projects, they aim to reverse the serious issues that we face in the world today. One of these projects is Green Coast, a proudly South African award for sensitive and well-managed coastal sites. This sustainability project protects our national coastlines while providing unemployed youth with a love for their environment and a hope for the future. WESA is a membership and volunteer-supported organization. Every supporter is helping to change the only earth we have. Visit our website to see how you can help care for our earth.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
So we have to lift the dam and then always checking that monkey that was calling about, but then nothing came out, so we're going to drive through roads and then just to see if maybe we come across anything that whatever it could be, it's out of reach for us because that was in a boundary and then in one of the property up in the south. So just hoping if it's a leopard, either come to us. This is how we can maybe find out which one is it. Nandi, so you're asking what is the difference between the lion tracks and the leopard tracks? Yeah, we've got all the impalas there. So the difference is the lion tracks are far too big in size, but also we're able to tell the various difference between the male lions and the male and the female lion. But it's the same with the leopard as well. We can able to tell whether there's a male that walk there, whether there's a female. So but between the two different cats, there's a difference. So leopards always small in size, tracks, and the lions are big. So here we got a whole mix of males. Looks like a lot of male there, less females, and they're younger male as well, impalas. And the wind is picking up already, and that's why they would be very much on lookout. Less feeding, but check out for safety. Because they are in covered thicket. These are young male, which were born last November. You can see the horns already slightly well developed. Quite a lot of bachelor males here. What I've seen, just the one female, young female. Oops, I'm not sure what's going on around them. They're a little shy just because of the bushes that they disturb. They are our side. Can't see what is beyond the bush. So they've actually moved away from our side. We're gonna carry on. Check if we can find anything else then. So I'm gonna carry on driving around, which then I'm going to send you across to Nick, who is also on the dam.
So as you can see, patience has paid off. As we were about to leave, actually, in the last couple minutes, this beautiful herd of wildebeest and impala have come down. Look at the impalas running around, stotting. Looks like they're having a bit of fun this morning on the far northern side of this waterhole. And we were mentioning earlier how dependent these impalas are on water, so it's quite nice that they've proved that point and they have come down to have a drink. A little bit unrelaxed on that northern side of the waterhole. The wildebeest were very nervous coming down. They're jumping high. And very playful impalas. And I think it's because of the wind that's blowing around this waterhole. We were speaking about the wind earlier, and how the animals tend to become a little bit more unrelaxed when it's windy. I think with a big group of them up there on the northern side of this waterhole, they may be starting to relax a little bit because there's so many animals there to keep a watch out. But when they came down at first, they were very, very nervous. There's quite a large herd of wildebeest. There's a very big blue wildebeest bull in that group as well that we saw rolling around in the mud, trying to cover himself in mud and also leave his scent around that part of this body of water. You can also see 2 wildebeest, even 3 wildebeest calves in that group, so it's quite good that some of them have managed to survive. Oh, and look at what we've got here now. Patience really is paying off this morning. A really large herd of elephants coming down to the water, which is really, really lovely to see this morning. See how they're almost running down with excitement. The first one straight into the water, trunk in, and straight into the mouth. This is quite a small baby coming behind that big cow right up the front. And it's super important to be patient in the bush. If it wasn't for those wildebeest and impalas coming down, we probably would have left, and in turn we would have completely missed this herd of elephants that we literally only spotted as OD put the camera on them. See how they drink right close to each other. Those 2 that are moving around on the far left, good chance they're young bulls, the fact that they're away from the herd. You can see how some of them actually move a little bit further into the water as well, so that they don't drink the water that's right next to the edge of the dam. They get water that's a little bit cleaner, more likely from the top of the water as well. I love how they use their trunks just like a straw to suck water up and then place it in their mouth. Just like those impalas we were saying that are hugely water dependent. Elephants, if there is water around as well, will also try and drink on a daily basis. The position that we're sitting in is really nice as well, because we're not going to affect their behavior at all. Try to see if we can count how big this herd is from left to right. "18 individuals, it looks like the number of animals that are there. So quite a big herd of elephants actually. So Paul is asking us how many liters of water an elephant can hold in its trunk. And sorry, I'm just going through, I lost my train of thought there. I think it'll vary. You can imagine for really big elephants, they're going to be able to hold a lot more than the smaller elephants. But what I've read and what I've seen is a trunk of a fully grown elephant can hold as much as 12 liters. in its trunk, which is an enormous amount of water. Probably don't hold 12 litres all the time when they're drinking, probably maybe half of that, maybe 6 to 8 litres. You can imagine to put 12 litres in your mouth and try and drink that would be an enormous amount. You can see how this herd is also continuously moving around towards that northern edge of this waterhole. And I think with this herd of elephants here now, we are not going anywhere. I think we might try and reposition to see if we can get a little bit closer to them and see how they behave when we do try and approach them a little bit closer. But while we do that, we're going to send you back to Mike on Bushwalk.
So as you can see, we've managed to find the buffalo. Not so far from us, probably less than 20 meters or about 20 meters away. There's a whole herd. We can see a buffalo bull busy having a good scratch. And we can hear oxpeckers all around us. They are basically moving from left to right. One of the buffaloes is spotted. Jan Hendrik, but seems to be not too bothered. It's always quite exhilarating to be on foot with these animals now. This is a herd of buffaloes, and they're generally a little bit more predictable. They'll usually tend to move away from danger if they feel threatened. If this was one single buffalo bull, I would be much more reluctant to stay on foot with it. We would be moving away as quick as possible. Now, there's not only the buffaloes, but there are also lots of oxpeckers and other birds here. And if we move around too noisily, it could disturb those birds, which will then cause the other buffaloes who haven't noticed us to get panicked, and then they don't know which way to run. And that's quite a dangerous situation. So we rather just stay very still and very quiet. You can see one of the buffaloes now. It's got its head up looking towards us. Now, through the trees, you can't see them easily, but their horns are shining, reflecting the sunlight. And that's mostly what I'm seeing as the animals move their heads. You can just see those shining horns. Now, this being quite a big herd, there's not only the chance of, more buffaloes, but there's plenty of chance of lions might follow herds like this, especially when they've got lots of youngsters. The pride of lions in this area is about 17 strong. So a buffalo herd like this would provide the kind of food that they'd want to be able to feed the whole pride. I hope you can all hear me okay. I can't really talk much louder than this, because we are very close to the buffalo, and I don't want them to be alarmed by us. So the whole area around us is covered in dry grass, so it's very difficult for us to move silently. But we were quite surprised as we were approaching these buffaloes. We realized we were about, 20 meters from one of them, and it hadn't even looked up yet. It hadn't even noticed us. And it just goes to show when these buffaloes are feeding, they're not very aware of their surroundings. And so long as we take into account the wind direction, keep ourselves more or less behind some cover, we can get extremely close to them before we even realize they're there. And certainly before they realize we're here. That's not always a good thing. We wouldn't want to find ourselves, any closer than this to the buffalo, because then it really reduces the chance of us being able to make decisions that require very quick action, i.e. moving to safe area or something like that. But even the closest buffalo that had seen us is now back to feeding again. That just goes to show how unthreatened they feel by us, which is fantastic. But we're not going to overstay our welcome. We're probably going to start making our way a bit further away from the buffalo now. And success. I'm glad that you all managed to be with us when we found these.
So we're still bumbling around, hoping to find any animal here. But it seems to be nothing for now. So I know we have left a dam, but we'll probably check for more watering hole around here. Hopefully some animals will come drink. Slender mongoose, but ran along the road. Hopefully we'll get another visual again. Disappeared off road. So I'm gonna go down to one of the small watering holes, see what is there.
So welcome back. We decided to not reposition as the elephants decided they were going to try and chase every single animal that was around the waterhole. They were successful. They chased all of those impala and wildebeest off. You can see there's only one lone wildebeest left in picture. And the elephants went highly mobile, running away north into the block. I don't know why they did that, and they decided to do that. I don't know if it's the wind that gave them a bit of a fright, but you can see now the impalas and that single wildebeest are quite relaxed and back at the water's edge, which is nice. Quite productive little adventure to Clara Dam this morning. And this time of year, as it gets drier and drier in the bush and almost all the seasonal pans starting to dry up, I think we're going to see lots and lots of activity at this watering hole. East of us is a massive wilderness area in Kruger National Park, which I think is about 34,000 hectares with no infrastructure in, no water holes, no man-made roads, water, anything. So there's a good chance that those animals are going to need to come to this specific body of water to come and drink as winter time approaches. And like Mike's got that buffalo herd on Bushwalk, I'm really hoping that we get a chance to see some big herds of African buffalo come down to this waterhole. In the wintertime, it is close to, I was just chatting to Odie about elephants and really enjoying having them drinking at waterholes. But a big herd of buffalo coming down to drink is a spectacle in winter. You get the audio of them and the dust in the distance, and you just sit and wait on the other side of the water and just wait for them to come down. It's quite a spectacle to see. The hippos have been showing off, but as it would go with them this morning, as soon as Odie tries to put them on, they decide to go back underwater. And it is just these same two hippos that have been spending time in Clara Dam for the last couple months. Stunning view of the waterhole now, and just like that, all the animals are gone. All the impalas have moved off, the wildebeest have moved off, and we left with a similar scene to when we arrived, which just illustrates how important timing is and to a certain extent luck in the bush as well. You can try your best to predict animals and predict what time they'll come down, but if you hear 5 minutes too early or 5 minutes too late, you could miss what we were able to see then with all those animals coming down to quench their thirst. Gonna give another shot with the hippo. Now being that tiny little bit more willing to show off to us. Oh. So Waikisha, hippos can be quite territorial about their homes, which is essentially water holes like this. And they don't tend to enjoy having animals coming down too much. You would expect hippos to not be able to chase elephants, because elephants are quite a lot bigger than hippos. And if they stand their ground, I'm sure the hippos are not going to run in and try and have a fight with them. However, we did see the other day at Djuma, Tswalu had an interesting sighting of a young, it looked like a youngish hippo chasing an elephant bull that came down to drink. So definitely a possibility and something that might happen from time to time. But I think also if the elephant, if it's big enough and it decides to stand its ground, the hippo's probably going to come off second best. I have seen them being very territorial around water, though, chasing lions off that are trying to have a drink. I've watched them chasing wild dogs away from water as well. Some of the other antelopes, they tend to, if the hippos approach them, just move away from the hippo and try and drink somewhere else. And that might be a reason why those impalas and wildebeest came and drank from the northern end of this waterhole, away from the hippos where it's much more shallow and the hippos don't tend to spend too much time. So it's definitely a possibility, but I think if the elephant decides that it's not interested in being chased around by the hippo and stands its ground, it'll probably come off as the winner of that duel. Might be able to hear in the background there's a bird calling, going 240. It's a white-browed scrub robin. Very repetitive call. And it's been quite a productive little stint at this watering hole. So I think what we'll do from here is so nature enthusiasts, I think they're designed to combat a bit of the cold weather. We've just got, I think it's a Swainson spurfowl in particular in front of us. They've been designed to combat these incredibly cold temperatures. And at Ngala, to be honest, we do complain about the cold, but we are still sitting here in shorts. So it's not really that freezing here. It doesn't really tend to get below zero ever, and below 10 degrees very rarely. But they've got quite thick coats that, I mean, each individual animal will have a different technique to keep warm. But most of them have got quite a good coat of fur around them. We saw the impalas this morning with their pilot erection, fluffing their fur out to try and keep warm. Things like lions and leopards will try and go into areas where it's maybe... Oh, hippo's treating us to a little bit of a grunt there. But yeah, most animals I think they just tend to cope with it. They just make do with the weather and try and warm up. They'll make use of the sun in the early mornings to try to warm up quicker, and in the late evenings to just get that last little bit of warmth. But they're pretty much designed for it. I mean, you think about polar bears in the northern parts where it's freezing cold, they also just designed for it with that really thick coat. They're able to withstand those freezing temperatures. Out here in Africa, I don't think it's so much of the cold that's a worry for these animals. In summertime, it's the heat and trying to stay cool, which is a much bigger issue for them. Which also they've over time they've figured out how to stay nice and cool, whether it's by panting for the cats or lying with their paws in the air for other animals, just sticking to the shady areas. Each different animal, different species has their own little technique. But as I mentioned, now the waterhole has gone quiet, and look, we could sit around for another 40 minutes, but I think Odie and myself are quite keen to move on and just go and check a couple other areas and see if we can't find anything. So I think that's what we're going to do from here. We're going to start and slowly start ambling forward. You can also hear by the sounds of our vehicle, it's turning on a much easier way than it was doing yesterday. We had to go up to the workshop and do a little bit of repairs on the starter motor, which is something that happens out here with turning the vehicle on and off. So often we do have to wait for the coil to go off, but sometimes the starter does end up giving a bit of trouble, and we just got it repaired yesterday, which was nice and easy and quick. So while we amble back towards the central parts, and maybe I'm quite keen to just pop into the riverbed where that female leopard was. No one's had luck with her today. Now it's nice and warm. Maybe we're going to be the guys that managed to find her. But we're going to send you back to Mike on bushwalk.
So we left those buffaloes and we've headed north. We're heading back towards Ndlovu Dam in the camp. And we came across this knobthorn that I was going to talk about. And then I realized there was a much cooler thing. There's a spider here which mimics ants. Do you see that? So this thing actually looks like it's interested to jump onto the end of my stick. So this spider here mimics ants for a variety of reasons. Ants... Ooh, maybe it was actually afraid of me. It was like doing a weird thing with its front legs. So they mimic ants for a variety of reasons. Perhaps they hunt ants, which would help them to get closer. But also many ants spray formic acid, so it might be a kind of defense against predators, thinking that if I attack this ant, it's going to spray me with acid. Spiders don't spray acid. They've got, fangs which can inject venom, but this spider is very tiny, so it won't really be able to inject its venom into anything much larger than itself. And the venom itself is probably not that potent. Here comes an ant right now, close to that spider. Let's see what happens. Oh, does not like that ant. Look at that, that's crazy. Do you see that, how it raised itself up to try and make itself look larger? It did not want that ant anywhere near it. That was interesting. So I wonder, it's probably an ambush predator looking for something that might be interested in the ants. Perhaps it feeds on aphids. These ants often tend aphids. And so this spider might be actually hunting for those aphids. The ants won't like that. The ants want the sugary substance that comes out of the aphid. And so if they find out that this spider is busy eating their food source, they will chase the spider away. I don't know if they'll be able to kill it, but certainly if they've got biting mouth parts, they could. What an interesting little character. It's amazing how it raises its I mean, they're not really antenna, but if I put my stick closer to it, you'll watch how it raises its... Look at that, see that? It raises its front pedipalps. Might actually be legs. Oh, that's so interesting. There's some tiny ants that move around here as well. I don't know if that may be what it's hunting, these tiny little ants. But in any case, what a cool thing. So this tree, the reason why I actually stopped to talk about this tree is because it's dead. You can see the whole cambium layer has been damaged by elephants. They use its tusk here to gouge the side of the tree and pull off the bark and the cambium. And in doing so, they have inadvertently killed the tree. This tree will not survive. It's a knobthorn. It doesn't have too many nutrient transporting materials in the wooden part. But as we move back, you'll see that the tree, although is seeing its last season, is about to flower heavily. All of these pinky, purpley edges of the branches are catkins or flowers, these long flowers that are just about to start flowering. So that's probably this tree's way of ensuring that it can spread its genetic material for at least one more generation before it dies.
Hello everyone, my name is Elmarie and I'm very excited about this drive.
My husband Kleinhorn bought me this Ticket to Dream for my birthday as a present because he knows I watch WildEarth all the time. I couldn't be more happy. I've never had such a great present in my life before.
If you want to go on safari with a WildEarth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Okay, my favorite part about WildEarth is the characters, and then of course I love the bush and I love Africa, and just the fact that I can follow every day, that's one of my favorite things.
Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
Being on a live drive on WildEarth is really great because you can actually now smell the bush, see the animals in real life. You have to really make a plan and just do it.
Hi everybody, I'm Tiana, I'm from Johannesburg, and I am one of WildEarth's biggest fans.
Been watching for 4 years, DG here from the Ozarks.
It's been 4 years for me and I'm not leaving anytime soon.
It's given me a time away from the hassles of the city, and it's given me a connection to a place that has stolen my heart, which is Africa.
Last year we lost our son, and now we're just watching WildEarth. Love to all you guys.
You are reminding us of the role that we play in nature conservation, each and every one of us. You have reconnected myself to a dream that I had as a child to get involved in nature conservation, and for that I'm really grateful for as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at WildEarth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, you're going to have to register on the website, but once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
So you can see we are back on a little bit of a bumble, and obviously we've left that waterhole and moving back towards the central parts. See, we're going down through a little bit of a drainage line now, and just to give you a bit of perspective of where we are, we're pretty much in the central parts now, central east of Ngala, and this drainage line, just for perspective, was where that female leopard actually gave birth to her cubs, maybe about a kilometer, 800 meters to a kilometer up on our right hand side. Really dense drainage line, and if you were on the show yesterday morning, or it might have been the afternoon the day before, I mentioned that her first litter of cubs was actually washed away in a flash flood, and that, or supposedly it was before I got here, and that was that drainage line as well, the same place where she gave birth to these current cubs that she's got. But just nice to get a bit of perspective of the area where she originally birthed them, and then she's moved them not far, maybe 2 kilometers towards the Tumbavati River once they've got a little bit bigger. Just having a good look around here. There's a junction that we've seen leopard tracks consecutively the last few months. Nothing here. Excuse me. So she hasn't come into this area yet, this morning at least. The search for leopards is always quite an exciting one. You never quite know on Ngala whether or not you're going to find them. So if you do manage to find a leopard while searching for one, it's always a very exciting moment. We're still slowly checking here for tracks, not really. So we're going to keep bumbling around and see what else is on offer this morning. But while we do that, we're going to send you back over to Djuma and Andrew, who's also busy bumbling.
So, we still got our herd of elephants. So we're now following them in this wood. And they've actually been very kindly that they don't make such a sound, not showing a lot of upset or aggressive towards us, even though we've seen a lot of a difference age here of the young one. And they're still tolerating the vehicles, which is very good. At this stage, they're just going to feed around, but they're going to be aiming on to go down to drink in one of the watering holes, which is still quite a way distance from here, but they're going to make their way once they're thirsty. Tegan, so are you asking whether I've been charged by an elephant before? Not yet, I haven't. But I always say that, as in this field, things happen. Things that you don't believe or think is going to happen, it does happen. So it's like a broke down with the vehicles or stuck in a muddy. That happen quite often, but I haven't actually, it's still going to happen, which I don't want it, but it will happen sometimes. But also, there's a few different ways of getting charged. Of maybe you get close to the animals, or maybe that animal was already freak out before you get there by something else. Elephants, they would have their own issue. You find them, they're already maybe in a bad mood. And then you just get yourself there, and you don't check their attention of what they're up to, what are the aggressions in them, and this is what the mistake we do as a guide. But everybody can do mistake like that. So there we get charged by this animal. So where they're heading right now, it's a river, it's a ravine where they may drop down to the ravine, probably spend time because it's probably cooler in there before the watering hole. I gotta talk to the radio, somebody want these elephants. Mike, if you're not Mariwalo, I'm on your right with this ndlovu. Faith, so are you asking would the elephants would eat all these kinds of vegetations? Pretty much, yes. Can be not all of them, but all variety, different kinds. of plants around in this area, where it's probably over 100 different species of, but also including trees, shrubs, but roots as well. That's what they feed on. Grasses, it's one of those herbs. Just gonna move forward, just moving away from us. And this time of year, there is not much of a challenge because the grass is still available. So they eat on dry grass, which in turn they would need a lot of a dilute, which is then they need to go down to drink quite often during the day. Just still got a few of them on our right hand side. Sorry, do you want to repeat that question again? I'm not actually getting this question from Vandal. What is
spinal cord vulnerable to damage when so exposed?
Oh, so the question, the spinal cord, it's vulnerable to being damaged since it's viable. So not really. Not really vulnerable. So we know all weight of the elephant. They would pretty much use their foreleg, but their hind legs also support a lot of weight. And in that, it's just because, especially looking at the females, and then it's all designed due to how they mount. My male will manage to carry weight for the heavy male. And the male elephant would weigh anything from 5 to 5.5, probably 6 tons. But they're probably not actually able to put that all weight on the top of the female because they would also, as a male, stand on a hind leg. This is when they mount. So we're just going to see. They'll probably maybe disappear into the river, but we're just going to see what happens. Flapping their ears, it's a way of cooling off. It's getting slightly warm, not very hot yet, but they would still do that. Just make sure their body temperatures, it's a minimum. Taking it easy. Could hear these old ears when I flap them, because I always touch to the body of the animals. So when they do that, all of them probably just fly that they're bothering them. The ears would work on these flies, get them off. In the back, well equipped with these tail they have, also does the same work, but not what the ears can do at a time. And that will be controlled by a matriarch, which she is the leader of the whole herd. So that one is just all left behind, probably because of the vegetation that she got there. It's probably more sweet, but it's a way for them separate from one another far apart when they eat. Gives them a chance not to push one another a lot. And a family bond is so strong in elephants. Whole group will take care of one another, take care of one another's baby. Well, a lot of time females get probably separate from the rest of the herd, but with somebody else's baby. She probably, as long as they're still drinking milk, she lactating. She let hers drink, but the other one drink as well. And those can't keep well with a group. They've also been taken care. So we're going to check something else. I'm going to be sending you across to Nikki, who is also on the bamboo.
So still driving around, haven't found anything yet, but it's now nearly 9:20ish, 9:30ish, so we're actually trying to make our way quite quickly to the riverbed. In all honesty, no one went and checked after us. I thought that someone would at least go and give it a shot with this female leopard, but I think let's give it a shot one more time for this morning. You'll see I am driving a little bit faster just to get there, so we've got a bit of a time to scratch around and just drive in the riverbed at least once and have a good look around. If we don't see her, I'm hoping that we do pick up on tracks of her in the youngsters crossing. Sort of been a goal for this morning. I did think we wouldn't be able to spend as much time in the area as we have because of some of the other guides with guests on their car, but luckily for us, we're going to go and pop into the riverbed and have one last look for this morning. Wouldn't it be a fantastic way to end drive if we're able to find at least one leopard of the three? Back onto the road that we started off this morning on, or in the first sort of 15-20 minutes, a road called Big Bend, and we're on the northern entrance to this road, and it's not far to the riverbed. I can already see some of the bigger trees down in front of us, and those will be the trees that are growing on the river banks. That's where there will be the nice cover and the area where we have been checking this morning. It's got quite warm, but it was about this time yesterday that we found them out in the open, maybe a little bit earlier than this, but who knows, maybe they're going to treat us this morning. So while driving along here, you can see it's very thick around either side of us, so the chance of spotting them here is not too high. So while we're driving, I'm just keeping a lookout on the road for potentially these animals or tracks of them walking along the road. It would be quite quick to get a little clue, like a bushbuck alarming or a Ngala alarm calling, and get into that area. But we're now approaching that area. We've made our way here nice and quickly. We managed to get around in time. And let's go and have a look. This is a really nice section to check for tracks as well, because the sand is quite soft here. And with the amount of activity of vehicles driving around, there never tend to be tracks that are really too old. Nothing here as of yet. Leopard searches can be quite repetitive, driving around the same area, because you know that they're here, but it's just hard to find them. So you tend to drive the same roads quite often on a drive focused on searching for leopard. But driving around this part of the reserve repetitively is no issue for me at all. It's a really beautiful section. I love the riverbed, and I love the big trees on the banks of the riverbed. And also there's good birds along here. Just got to go into four-wheel drive so that we don't get stuck once in the sand. Let's see. So we're going to keep going in the riverbed. Hopefully the next time you come back to us, we're going to have a view of this leopard. But I think that is quite optimistic, but let's cross fingers.
As the sun goes down in Africa, for many, the day has just begun. WildEarth is piloting a brand new concept, and this time it's at night. This Saturday, a specialized thermal drone will take to the air under the cover of darkness. As it flies above the bush, it will be searching for hotspots on the ground.
We might have a leopard on the far right of this group of hyena.
The ground team will then be called to identify the animal.
It is a warthog. That's exactly what it is. So there we go. It was
a warthog that was running away from... Sorry, Warty.
And of course, it is at this time when the big cats are on the hunt.
Yeah, James, just head a little bit more left.
Okay, Gabi, I'm going to go north around on Impala Road.
Okay, the lions are on the move, guys. Lions are chasing the wildebeest.
WildEarth is looking for a sponsor who can help turn this pilot into a long-running series. If you are interested, then head over to our website to find out more. wildearth.tv/sponsors. As one of the industry's best and Fagasa endorsed training institutes, NJ Moorfield Guide College produces professional guides of exceptional caliber and gives students from around the world an incredible experience. NJ Moore offers courses to suit all types of interests. The full-length career course results in a Fagasa accredited qualification and the option of a 6-month internship at one of Moore Family Collection's luxury safari lodges. Shorter courses are a great introduction for those considering a career in field guiding or even a life-enriching experience in your gap year. With spaces still available in July, don't miss out on this fantastic opportunity to live your African dream.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at andBeyond in Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through andBeyond in Ngala on WildEarth. Send me live questions through the WildEarth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
I'm just thinking maybe we give them a little bit of space, because I don't think they're going to come out if we're sitting right here. But if we're a little bit further away, they're definitely in here, or at least the cubs are. So welcome back everyone. We're just trying to reposition here. We don't get your hopes up. We didn't see anything, but we are at the area where we think the cubs have been left. And we just want to have a careful listen. If you listen carefully up in this direction, we have got some alarm calling squirrels. And out of all the clues that we've had and haven't had this morning, I'm almost certain that they are looking down onto these leopards, at least the cubs if the mother isn't there. So we'll just give it a few moments. Maybe if we're super lucky they'll pop their heads out, but I think they're still probably a little bit shy if the female leopard isn't there. Just shows how important it is to come back and check and check and check, because you never know when they're going to come out. When they're inside there, you can drive past. If you don't come back later, you're never going to know if they will come out. And they're definitely still inside of there. There's no tracks leaving the area of the youngsters. Lots of tracks of the female up and down, so we're not sure if she's inside there or if she's out of the den. But for some of the viewers, I'm sure you'll be very excited to know that Tristan is currently on Ngala as well. He's busy driving with Nikki. So maybe Tristan's going to bring some of his leopard magic this afternoon and help us find these 3 individuals. Have a look to see where those squirrels were. Sitting, but they seem to be just below the canopy, and I mean it's unbelievably dense in there, so quite tricky to see exactly where they were. I was quite keen to try to see if we could find them, just to see where they're looking, because there's a good chance they're going to be looking at the area where those little leopards are. And I think we'll just stick around here until the end of drive this morning. It has been a bit of a scratchy drive from our side, but the dam seemed to produce again, similarly to the way that waterhole in the west. We got really lucky there with some elephants. We got lucky with some elephants again this morning. Our leopard search didn't go according to plan, but maybe this afternoon, if we're lucky, we will get them out. It has been a lovely morning from all the bumbling, all across all the different locations. Mike at Pridelands with the buffaloes. Andrew, I heard, had some elephants at Djuma. I'm sure you enjoyed conversations with Trish along the way. From our side, we've had a really nice morning. It's been a beautiful day and a beautiful start to the Saturday. And I'm hoping that this afternoon we'll be able to get something exciting. Cross fingers, and let's hope that we get to those lions and potentially get to see them a little bit active. They are in an area that's a little bit tricky, so we might struggle for signal, but I think we're going to give it a shot and see if we can't give you an update on the Birmingham Pride this afternoon. But thanks everyone again for joining us. Thank you for a lovely morning, coming to you live from andBeyond in Ngala in the Kruger National Park. And we will see you a little bit later this afternoon at about 2:30 our time. I know Odie and myself are very excited, so have a good day. See you later.